Yeah, Malte basically already introduced our next speaker on the stage. I'm very glad to have him here with us today. It's Alexander Sieverts. He's with It's My Data. And as Malte already also touched upon, the question how a data intermediary, how a data platform might work in practice. And yeah, Alex, I think there's no one better than to explain all this today. So I'm giving the floor to you.
Thanks, Rebecca, and thanks, Malte, for raising the expectations, right? So, good afternoon, everyone. So thanks for the opportunity to introduce you today, I would say, an innovative and new way how companies can access personal data, and that's now very important, in a GDPR compliant way or matter. And even if we are all aware of, I would like to highlight how important it is to access for companies the right data. It's already today very important. Having said that, I think going forward, it will be, or the question if companies get access to the right data or not will make the difference between success and fail. And I think that's not the reason because everyone is talking about the high value of data. No, I think because of the new services that companies can develop and the new products and the data that they need to feed the AI. And the question is, it is not getting easier. It's not getting easier because I think there's one more thing that we need to consider. We as consumers, we are less and less willing to share our data with everyone or every company. And I would say, and I hope it as well, that the time of business model where companies are developing apps to collect data from everyone and sells it to other companies, I think this time is definitely over. It's history. And the trend that people start to think about the question, who's using the data and for what, and that they would love to control it. This is currently, and it's interesting as it comes from the US, it's really supported by Apple, and the fact that they really say they're writing off 90% of their turnover that they're generating with the data just to position themselves as a company who is interested in privacy or data protection company. And I think that's really a game changer because that alone shows very clearly how central the role of data protection is going to be, not only law-wise, I think even for the individuals. And it shows as well that trust and transparency can create a business advantage. And I think that's something we are not talking enough about it. So it is really a value for the people. I hear always now, I'm buying myself now an Apple phone because they're protecting my data. They're not selling my data. I think, especially in our days, in the decade of sustainability, is transparency going to be one of the key assets that we as companies needs to develop to the user or needs to show to the users. Interesting at the same point of time is when I talk to companies, especially I would say to CSOs or in insurances, to the sales directors, I always get the same feedback when I ask them, okay, going your future development of your future product, how are you going to deal with it? Where do you get the data? And the feedback is really, it's still surprising, I would say. They say, oh, we get the data. We're investing every single year, millions in marketing, social media, we get the data from Facebook. And I would say, okay. First time I was quite speechless, I need to say. And to say it one more time, Facebook is not giving you any data. They may be giving you some leads, but no, not a single data. Maybe they know exactly who's visiting your website, and if they are going to become a visitor, they're going to kill you, but that's a different story. And I would say, however, the idea of buying data from Salesforce or other third parties, it works legally, sure. But is it a good idea if people are starting to realize that you're approaching them without their consent? I wouldn't say so. The good news is that the solution is quite simple. That's at least what we think. And I think it's even important for our society. Why are companies not getting the data directly from the source, direct from us, the users? Because I would say only we know who should use our data for what, and are we willing to share our data, and what kind of data with whom? And what we thought is, isn't it a smart way to approach this challenge by developing a portal that enables every single person to collect his or her personal data from any company. So can you imagine you approach a company, you get, based on GDPR, the feedback, the system, the portal extracts the data, they pass the data, they visualize the data. Visualization is quite important just to explain the user what the data means and what the background of the data is. First the individual needs to understand the data. And then if he would have the user consent engine and decide by himself or herself if they like to share the data, with whom and for what reason, and what they get for the data. And the logical next step was to think about the question, how should such a portal look like, and how should it be structured, and what kind of functionalities needs to be included? So, and here's just a quick overview, what we thought would make sense. It's really, individual needs to have the ability to request from any source, any kind of data, to store it at one place, in a neutral place that does not belong to any huge company or politic or country or whatever. It needs to be a neutral place. He needs to have the ability to correct or delete his data, which is even going to support the companies to have a clean database. You need to have the ability to see your own data history. What I was saying earlier, to visualize the data, I think is key. Then you need to have the ability to compare your data to understand the true meaning of the data. And then for sure, you need to have companies who are developing services based on your data, or even to share the data with companies. And the good news, at least for us or for me now, is that something like this is already existing. So this is not only a PowerPoint presentation and wishful thinking. I will just jump into our portal. And yes, this is nothing that only took some weeks or months. This is really years of development that we have invested here. And I will just run you the next minutes through the portal to show you some things about the idea. First of all, you have here, as you can see, hundreds of sources where every individual can request his personal data. So what do? Every single individual gets his own email address. So the data always belong to the user. We as itsmydata, we do not have access to the data. It is his own data safe. Only he has access, and he is starting to collect his data. And what is happening if he's going to request, so you can select it by, let me say, by branches. Oh, I will need to switch to English. Sorry for this. Let's say the typical thing, data broker, right? If you request the data from a data broker, we are sending wrong. The user is sending an email with the request to the company. And the company is responding to itsmydata with the feedback. Some of them are sending it still via post, but at least it gets to the user. Then the user is collecting the data. Every single activity that the user is performing is stored here in my activities. You see the feedback of the any data format, any that we get the feedback from Lufthansa, from Deutsche Bahn, if it is HTML, CSV, Word, PDF. Honestly, it doesn't matter. We parse the data. The user can always have a look at the data. And then we parse the data into my data. And my data means that we have 12 living worlds. And for example, if we talk about creditworthiness data, they go to the financials. If you talk about Amazon data, they go to shopping. If you don't go to talk about fitness data, they go to sport. So just to give you an example how it looks like, the financials. And for sure, the funny thing is I can only always share my profile because there cannot be a dummy user because it's based on real data that we are exchanging with the companies.
Alex,
So,
I'm sorry. Can I interrupt you for just 1 second? I think you clicked on the link to show the platform actually, but I didn't see it on my screen, and I don't because I already know what it looks like, and it's pretty amazing, and I don't want our audience to miss out. Maybe you're sharing it on a different screen.
oh, that would be a shame. I will stop and do it again.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Sorry for this. And thanks for raising it because I was already presenting it for minutes.
Yeah, I thought so, and I already. Yeah, okay, perfect. Now it's working. Please
Okay,
go
I will
ahead.
do it. Yeah, I will just jump back and show the list of the targets, so of the companies where we collect the information. And maybe again, the data broker and how such a letter looks like that we are sending. And maybe as well my activities, just to share the impression, sorry. And then again, going into my data world, these are the 12 living worlds. And then we jump into financial, where you see my personal creditworthiness data. And it's quite interesting to see what is my own creditworthiness. So I can collect my data here. I can look at the development over time, and that's quite interesting. I can compare them with others because do I really know what does it mean to have a score of 99.3? Is it good? Is it bad? So the idea is a bit to track and understand yourself. And for sure, there are all the typical things that you need to have, like the personal profile. We have different level of identification. So every individual that is performing a service on our site is clearly identified. We have different kind of services. Most of the services I presented to you already during the PowerPoint presentation. So that's just to give you a brief overview about that, what the portal is today able to do. So we are currently at the stage where we are having the first cases where we are building with a content management engine the exchange of data, so that the user has a dashboard here in my data, and then is the user deciding, so he gets an offer from the company, can be for an insurance company, like I'm going to offer you an Hausratsversicherung with Alarmanlagentarif. And please hand over your IoT data to me, and then the user can share here his data and decide what else he's able and willing to share and what he's going to get from the company. Interesting, and what we are is as well, I think, what we receive quite frequently is, Alex, you talk about Amazon data. How do they look like? And we are quite close to the setup of the Amazon data. And I will show you how this looks like. Beforehand, I give some more examples about typical data from the different living worlds, just that you get an idea how fruitful and how rich the opportunity is. It's really every single data that you can imagine, right? That the user can collect. And that's the example with the Amazon data, where you even see it's based on line item details. Really, you can see what products has Alexander bought at Amazon in June, what was his largest order, what is my payment method, do I buy only new or even used products? So there's a huge opportunity to get a better understanding of your customer. So what are we doing with this data as well? We're developing by ourselves new digital products. I'm going to run you through 2 examples in a minute. We are offering our portal as a white label solution. We have the first companies who are going to start with go live based on our technology. So we build it together as an ecosystem so that they're going to run a portal and then we have bridges between the different entities. So the first thing that we have done just to get more awareness and to generate user, and we have 10,000 of users meanwhile, is to have our own creditworthiness certificate. It was important to understand, are people willing to collect in a portal like itsmydata their creditworthiness information? Is it something that is interesting? Do they are they scared? Do they trust us? What do we need to build trust? And I think it's behind health data, the most sensitive data. And we have seen it's for us a huge success. And our intention is to gain 20% market share by end of next year. Schufa is really not loving us, but I think that's the fun side of the game. And interesting is as well, I think that's because this is our first B2B2C offer. So we have developed together with Kreditreform, Universum, it's one of the creditworthiness agencies, and a digital product for them. And it was up and running in some weeks based on our technology. So it clearly shows that we are helping companies, or we are able to help companies who are not having this kind of technology or infrastructure today to set up in a very dedicated way new digital data services. I think just in the interest of time, we all know what a company that is using the right data with the full consent of the user can achieve and what kind of advantage it has. So I will go direct to the Q&A section. If there are any questions.
Yeah, there are, Alex. And thank you for the great overview of your platform basically, and the different services that are included. Because one question basically touches upon what kind of data control does the user have in your platform, and how does the consent mechanism work when giving data to the partners that are actually part of the ecosystem that is itsmydata?
So it's really that we as itsmydata, we have no access to the data account of the user. It's really only the user. Security-wise, we have the highest imaginable level of security. And we always say only the user decides. And if the user decides to share his data, he has something like where he can decide with whom do I share the data, and he needs to perform the activity proactively. So itsmydata is not able, even if we would love to, and we don't like to, we cannot share any data. So it's really secure only in the hand of the user.
Maybe then I do have a follow-up question on that, because what are companies that are working with you? Yeah, what's their benefit in the system then?
Yeah, the benefit is that they get access to the data. So how could a company, let me say a big insurance company, if they would like to have the Amazon purchasing history of Alexander, how could they get it today? There's no way to get this kind of data. Amazon has it for sure, but since years we hear always, oh, the big techs in the US, they have all the data. No one in Germany has the data. We would develop thousands of new technologies and services if we would have the data. Ask the customer, may they give you the data if they trust you, and then you have the ability to develop these kind of services by yourself.
That's absolutely true. And circling a bit back to what Malte said earlier, would you describe yourself as a data intermediation services or more like a provider of data, I don't know, cooperation service,
Honestly,
or is it a data platform?
it's a very good question. And honestly, when we founded itsmydata, even this wording was not existing. Our intention was, hey, it's time to give back the user power over his own data. That was our original intention, where we say, okay, people and companies need to be on eye level. And the ideal wording for us would be that our intention is to build a data ecosystem. So
Okay.
that is our understanding of that, what we do.
So that's kind of another category here in the data economy and the data sharing ecosystem, basically. Yeah, so that's quite a lot of them already, but I like the ecosystem idea a lot anyway. So one other question, maybe touching upon data security, because you actually get the data from the user. It's not only stored on his side, but it's actually stored with you. Yeah, how is it secured? Because data protection without data security will never work, as you well know. And
as you can imagine, this is a point where we every single month going to look into, or every single month we have the discussion, decentralized storage, data storage versus centralized data storage. And there are some pros and cons for every single side. Regarding security, I would say central storage of the data will never be that secure as on your phone and a central. Even if you say we have the most, we host without American products at the OTC and Open Telecom Cloud. We have a blockchain mechanism, we have everything, but it will never be that secure. Having said that, collecting the data from a more decentral structure is very difficult. Comparing data, understanding your data with comparison is not possible in a decentral way. So our intention is really, because it's for me not a religion, I don't mind if it is decentral or central. For me, it's customer's choice. And that is the way that we are going to go, that we say, okay, if a customer would love to have his identity plus what was possible since some days, a driver license in an itsmydata app on his mobile, we are fine with. If you want to store it there, that's fine for us as well. So we think it will not be an either or.
okay, so both, but based on what the user wants and needs, basically.
Yeah, because in the end, it's the user deciding. It's not a technology discussion, right? It's really a question of let's in the end, it's a convenience discussion. It can't be more convenient than to have your driving license. If you rent a car, to have everything on your mobile, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
So,
that is absolutely true. And I think we've seen so many, like kind of bad examples where the UX was basically so bad that nobody was using a service that would otherwise been very excellent, but wasn't like good for the user, wasn't convenient. And so I definitely think you did a great job with what you've already done. And maybe for the last 1.5 minutes, can you describe what the most important next steps are for you in the upcoming year?
to be perfectly honest, the most important for us is to find the right partners who are having the power and the willingness to go such a new way. Because let's be honest, we see it in the discussions, it's something totally new. And to say, oh, we are going to offer a user €5, €10, which is even common, right? You get €5 discount for your email address, which is nothing different. But to expand this, to go the next step and to say, hey, I'm not only giving you €10 for your email address, I give you €30 for your Amazon data. That's quite a huge step. And we are looking for companies who are really interested to developing service. This is coming back to your comment. An ecosystem like ours is only going to be successful if we are able to develop together with companies interesting services that people are looking for, and why people are logging in and register themselves in itsmydata. If we are not able to do so, no one is going to visit more than 2-3 times itsmydata because of the fact that he can request his data. That's nice, but it's nothing that will bring us to the million of users.
Yeah, so it's a service that absolutely depends on cooperation of all the participants, all the stakeholders in the ecosystem, which is why I'm particularly thankful for you, Alex, that you took the time today and talked us through the platform and everything you set out to do, because I think it's a major step for the data ecosystem, for the data economy, and I hope we'll see each other again soon, and maybe in a year's time we'll see where we stand now. Please feel free to stay on the platform a bit longer if there are additional questions from our audience, or browse through the community or the previous sections that were also quite interesting. But thank you for today, Alex.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. It was a pleasure.